Ollie had been asked to come to the community association meeting by the community association's vice president. Said, Ollie, we're talking about this mysterious tackler, and I don't know. We're stumped. Please, we're stumped. I'm hoping you can listen to people and maybe help us figure something out. I said, sure. Phil, I'm going to do this one pro bono. Because what a weird situation. You see, for the past 2 weeks or so, people had been getting tackled out of the blue. And what's weird about that is they would get tackled, and the tackler would get up really quick and seemingly disappear. So nobody had really gotten a good look at the tackler. Or at least nobody had reported getting a good look at the tackler. I mean, for one thing, it's, assault. It's illegal. But, people were nobody had gotten seriously hurt. But there'd been some, twisted ankles and scraped elbows and banged shoulders and broken coffee cups and things of that nature.
And maybe some cuts because of the broken pottery and things.
Right, yeah. And it put people on edge. People didn't understand what was going on. So Ollie sat and he listened. The first couple of people that spoke up told what had happened to them, and it all sounded pretty similar. They were just walking down the street. In the middle of the day sometimes, in the evening sometimes, never in the morning for whatever reason. And before they even knew what was hitting them, they felt something slam into them, hug them, and carry them down to the ground. And before they were able to turn around and see what it was, whoever or whatever it was up and gone. Some people said they saw a dark shape of some sort running, but that was about it. Everyone was getting more and more upset at this mysterious tackler. And then somebody had something different to say. They said, well, I saw it. And everyone turned and almost gasped. You saw it? I said, yeah, it didn't tackle me. It tackled my boyfriend. We were just walking. I had bent over to get a newspaper out of the distribution box. And when I looked back, all of a sudden, this thing tackled my boyfriend. I mean, I don't even know if it was a person. If it was a person, they must have been in some kind of costume. It actually wasn't big. It was shorter than me, and I'm not that tall. I guess that would make it maybe 5'7" or so. Thicker than me, stockier, for sure. And dark, kind of bluish, and it almost looked hairy. I didn't see where it came from, but I looked up back at my boyfriend, came from the newspaper, and just saw this blur tackle him, like you said. It leapt, it grabbed him, and took him down. And as soon as they hit the ground, it got up and sprang and ran off. It went around the corner of the alley. I'm not sure. I tried to run after it, but when I turned around, when I got to the alley and turned, which was only like a second after it turned, it was just gone. And everyone was very interested to hear that because no one else had really seen the thing. But then when she said that, somebody else stood up and said, it did look blue. It tackled me. I didn't get a good look at it, but as it passed over me and running away, I guess, I thought it was blue. I hadn't thought too much about it. I thought maybe it was just, the consequence of a blurry vision, but I think it was blue, and it could be furry. Maybe it's not as blurry as we think. Maybe it's furry. Maybe it's some sort of furry tackle monster. And everyone murmured at that. All right, settle down. I'm sure it's not a monster. Somebody just out there, probably some crazy person, has gotten in their head this is something that they ought to be doing. Does anybody else have any new or different stories to share about it. And then this older lady stood up. And she said, well, I think I can corroborate some of what the young lady was saying, because the thing tackled me and I grabbed it. And it got away, but I got not a fistful, but I managed to pull out some of its hairs. I grabbed it and it was hairy. I can confirm that it was hairy. I don't know where I grabbed it, maybe the leg, maybe the arm, I'm not sure. But I grabbed it and I didn't let go, and when it ran away, I tore out some of its hair. I even brought it here with me. She held up a plastic bag. It wasn't a lot in there, but, you know, a good pinch of hair. She passed it around, and it was, you know, faint because there was so little of it, but it was indeed kind of a dark blue. And the VP motioned to Ollie. I said, Ollie, did you have anything you wanted to contribute, to speak up now? And Ollie stood up and said, yeah, so some of you know me. I'm Ollie the Octopus. I'm a private eye. I live there in the apartment building across, on 32nd Street there. And your vice president there has asked me to come and see what I can figure out. So what you're saying is all very interesting. It sounds mysterious. I'd like everybody that's had an experience with the tackle monster to meet me after the meeting. Shh. What? And I'm trying to get stuff. I'd like to gather some data about where and when the attacks are happening. See if I can see any patterns there. And I'm going to give everybody that wants it my number. If you get tackled, or if you see something, call me right away. You know, I'm right here in the neighborhood. And yeah, I'm on the case. So then they moved on to other business. Some parking stuff, some land use stuff. And after the meeting, Ollie stood by the door, and a bunch of people that, you know, of course, a bunch of people were there to talk about this tackle monster. And he wrote down all the locations of where people had been tackled. When he got home, he put them all onto a map and tried to see if he could see a pattern. And he did indeed see a pattern. During the day, all the tacklings happened on 31st Street or Calvert Street on the 3100 block. In the evening, they pretty much all happened right around the Charles Commons apartment building and bookstore. Some of them in the alley between the two parts of the building. Some of them on the St. Paul Street side. But all right around that building. So Ollie had some clues. And more importantly, Ollie had some places that he could do a stakeout. Well, by that time, it was already evening. The meeting had let out about 8 o'clock. It was 8:45 by the time Ollie got everything collected and mapped out. So I thought, well, might as well start now. And he got his kit and headed over to the building. He set up two webcams in the alley between the two parts of the building. And he posted himself up on top of the awning on the corner of 33rd and St. Paul. And he just started watching. Watching. And there he sat all night long. Which for a lot of people would be maddening, but Ollie kind of likes the stakeouts. He saw lots of things that were interesting. Some people. Crazy nightlife. But no tacklings. So he got down, treated himself to breakfast at his favorite coffee shop, and then posted up on 31st and Calvert. And there again he waited and waited and waited. He was up on one of the poles from which are suspended the traffic lights. Pretty inconspicuous. And then he saw it. A guy walking alone. He was carrying a bag, looked like groceries. And all of a sudden, this blue shape darted out from some bushes, tackled the guy, and then ran away into the alley. Ollie swung down to give chase, but he knew probably what he would find, and he did indeed find it when he got to the alley and turned around and turned down the alley. There was nothing. No little blue person to be seen. But Ollie was able to confirm by doing that yes, it was a humanoid shape. It would be a small, short human, or maybe it was some sort of monster. It did look blue, and it did look furry. Now, of course, all that, except for the height, could be a costume. So, Ollie headed home because he'd noticed in the data that there hadn't been yet anyway, 2 attacks on the same day, at least not reported to him. But there had been several times, 1 attack in the afternoon and 1 attack at the other location in the morning. So he went back to his post. This time he set it up a little bit differently, where he actually had a live stream of the cameras that he was able to see on his phone up on the awning, while he also watched the awning. He'd talked to the bookstore owner, and they'd run a little extension cord up so he could, not have his phone run out of batteries. Excuse me. And he waited much of the night. And then, about 3:30 in the morning, there's a woman in her 40s walking. I was guessing she was maybe getting out from a shift at a bar or maybe at the hospital. And then, kind of out of nowhere, I didn't see where it came from, but the monster came. I could see it more clearly this time. It had big, pointy ears. He saw it rushing toward the lady, not in time to stop it, but in time to dive down. And so right as the monster and the lady hit the ground, Ollie landed on top of them and grabbed on to the blue creature with all of his might. And it made out a horrible yelp. And it started running. And it tried to shake Ollie, and it tried to pull Ollie off, and it tried to claw at Ollie, although it didn't have all that sharp of claws. Meanwhile, Ollie was trying to get his bearings. The monster was running. It had run into the alley, banged into the wall a couple times trying to knock Ollie off, and he had some pretty good scrapes from that. But he held on. He got himself turned around so he could see what he was looking at, what he was grabbing on. And, gosh, he still couldn't tell. But it had a head and a neck and arms and the legs. It had a little tail. It was blue. And it was furry. But Pointy ears, yes. Ollie decided that no matter what it was, if it had a head and a neck, it was probably sensitive to having those things squeezed. So he slipped the tentacle around the creature's neck and started squeezing. And the creature grabbed it, but Ollie was pretty strong, especially when contracting a tentacle. Well, an arm, not a tentacle. And he squeezed, and the monster stopped running and started writhing and crashing and banged into the wall again. Ollie was really taking a beating for this one, quite literally. But sometimes these cases go that way. After about a minute, the creature started to stumble, and then it fell. And Ollie held on a little longer. He'd had to do this a couple of times. He knew how long to hold on and what to look for to tell when a person was unconscious, but well before they died. And he went by those same kind of guidelines. So when he was pretty sure that if it was a person anyway, it was unconscious, Ollie let go. He had brought some zip ties to use as handcuffs before he did anything else. He zip tied the creature's arms behind its back and zip-tied its feet together. And at long last, starting to nurse a headache from the banging around, Ollie had the creature subdued, got a close look. He pulled the creature out onto the sidewalk, so he could be, in the streetlights and be able to see. And there before him was a very strange-looking creature. It was blue, it was furry, it was muscular, it was short. Kind of an elfin face to match the pointy ears, he supposed. Ollie looked very carefully, and what he did not see was any kind of zippers or buttons or seams, things that would tell him it was a costume. Ollie pulled at some of the places where you might expect a costume to be loose, like around the neck or around the face, and nothing doing. Nothing came loose. And with that pulling, the creature woke back up. It tried to wiggle away, but hands and legs bound, there wasn't much it can do. Well, I said, "I've got you, handcuffed. Do you talk?" The creature looked at him with a haughty, dignified air. Said, "I speak." I said, "So, what's your deal? Why are you tackling people?" "Because I'm the tackle monster, obviously." I said, "You call yourself the tackle monster?" "Yes. Otherwise I wouldn't have said I'm the tackle monster, would I?" I said, "I suppose not. Where do you come from, tackle monster?" "Who I am and where I am is where I'm from. It's none of your concern, octopus." "You are in great trouble for interfering with my sacred duties." I said, "Your sacred duties? To attack people?" "To tackle people. I don't hurt anyone. A few bumps and bruises, scrapes here and there. A broken jelly jar, I suppose, if they had one in their hands, but no one gets seriously hurt. Meanwhile, important tackling gets done." I said, I don't understand. What's the point of the tackling?" "The point of the tackling is the tackling. There needs to be more tackling in this world. It is a sacred doctrine of our people." "Your people? There's more of you." "Yes. There is at any time 1 to 4 in most major cities. We tackle people. It is our sacred calling, as we have done for centuries. Now you must let me go." I said, "I can let you go. Well, I'm not sure I can, actually. What you're doing is against the law." "Well, I suppose if I was subject to your human laws, then that would make some sense. But as it happens, I'm not. But you have caught me. And there is a rule concerning that." I said, "Oh?" "We tackle monsters are very difficult to catch. But we have a rule that if we are caught, we leave. I can't guarantee another tackle monster won't come here as early as tomorrow. I don't know. We don't work together. We don't plan these things out. I became aware there was a vacancy here in Baltimore, room for one more tackle monster than there was before. I'll even go ahead and tell you that I am currently the only tackle monster in Baltimore. And by catching me, you banish me. I'm exiled. You won't see me again." I said, "How do I know you're telling the truth? How can I know I can trust you to let you go?" I said, Oh. You thought that these zip ties would... Ah, I see. I see your confusion." With that, the monster snapped the zip ties like they were paper. "Good day, Ollie. You're a skilled hunter. I applaud you. If you were blue and furry, I might invite you to become a tackle monster, but as you're not, I bid you goodbye." And with speed like lightning, the tackle monster darted off into the night. And that was the case of Ollie and the tackle monster.